there cannot be an improvement of meaning or a growth of meaning. There can only be a deeper understanding in the same sense. Example, for 1853 years, a Catholic was not a heretic when he said that Our Lady was not immaculately conceived. He was in error. He was not a real heretic because it was not a defined dogma of the church. It was part of tradition, though. Now, Pope Pius IX, servant of God, Pope Pius IX, pronounced the Immaculate Conception as a solemn dogma. Did that change anything in the tradition? No. It just provided a deeper and final understanding of what Immaculate Conception means. And in the future popes will have the right to interpret the Immaculate Conception in the same sense and in the same judgment. One day, perhaps in the future, a pope will explain to us if the Immaculate Conception is to be understood with animation at the same time or not. If it means that Our Lady was immaculately conceived, which means that she got the soul already in the moment of conception, that will provide a deeper understanding. But it doesn't change the tradition, it doesn't change the sense of the dogma, it doesn't change the sententia, the judgment of the dogma. And we needed 1950 years until we finally could give our assent of faith, and had to give our assent of faith to the bodily assumption of Our Lady into heaven. That wasn't changing anything. The church has always believed that. The apostles were witnesses to that. They found an empty grave and a lot of lilies growing. So where did she go? So the Catholic Church knew from the very beginning that Our Lady was assumed into heaven as a singular exception in mankind. Well deserved, I say. It didn't change anything. Tradition doesn't change. And I come back to that awful definition of Vatican I again, or Vatican II again, where it says, there is a growth in insight. Now, that is right. There is a growth in insight into the realities and words that are being passed on. Of course. That comes about in various ways. And now we start the heresy. It comes about through the contemplation and study of believers who ponder these things in their hearts. It doesn't. Tradition is depending on a certain point on the sensus fidelium. That means on what everybody has believed all the time. But it doesn't come from some mystical experience of ourselves. It doesn't come from what we meditate in our foolish minds. The sensus fidelium pertains only to those things that pertain to everybody in the church, not to theological distinctions. The average faithful who has not studied theology is not capable of that. And most priests who have studied theology are not capable of the right distinctions. So how can they improve tradition? It comes through the contemplation and study of believers who ponder these things in their hearts. It comes from the intimate sense of spiritual realities which they experience. And now we are at the heart of the modernist crisis. Experience. Things are not anymore what they are. Things today are what they are to me and to you and to him and to her. It's pure subjectivism. And the new definition of tradition is a subjectivist, phenomenologist, modernist, and therefore heretical definition. Tradition is not alive in the sense that it can change. Tradition is alive in the sense that it is not dead. Tradition lives on eodem senso et eamdem sententia. It lives on in the same sense and in the same judgment as St. Vincent de Lerins was quoted by Vatican I. What is then this sensus fidelium, the sense of the faithful, the understanding of the faithful? The same St. Vincent of Lerins, whom I quoted before, says, in this, the sensus fidelium, the sense of the faithful, in the sense that a faith that was believed, semper ubique ab omnibus, always, everywhere, by everybody. And with other famous church fathers, you will have the sense of the faithful explained as something that comes from the sense of faith and is the universal adherence of the faithful to the teachings in matters of faith and morals. It is a gift of God which has to do with the subjective reality of the faith and gives the whole church the assurance of an indefectible faith. The whole church, mind you. It is a strength and almost instinctive power to know the truth revealed by God, adhere to it, discern it, and penetrate it in all of its amplitude. It certainly is not a religious sentiment of the modernist type. It is a knowledge by assimilation, adaptation, conformity, or connaturalness. To this definition, we would add, in the spirit of St. Vincent of Lerins, that it also is a special affinity with everything that Holy Church has taught over the centuries in a uniform and consistent manner that excludes Vatican II totally, and which has always stirred up enthusiasm in the best that could be found among the faithful. Now, how enthusiastic the people are today about Vatican II, you can see easily. The churches are empty. And people leave the church by hundreds every day. That's the enthusiastic approval of the great Second Pentecost. Now,